I bet you didn't know the psychological forces that shape our political landscape. Welcome to The Unseen Currents, How We Got Here. My name is Brandon. We've all witnessed moments of profound political change, times when the direction of a nation seemed to shift decisively. Yet politics, much like the human mind itself, is rarely straightforward. Beneath the surface of election results and policy debates lie deeper currents, psychological forces that shape our perceptions, our choices, and ultimately, the course of our society. How does a landscape that once seemed to embrace one path so dramatically veer towards another? Tonight, we're not just looking at what happened in recent American political history, particularly concerning the rise of Donald Trump. We're endeavoring to understand why. This isn't about relitigating past elections or assigning blame. Instead, we're embarking on a journey into the complex psychological dynamics that can influence entire electorates. We'll explore the subtle, often unconscious mechanisms that can lead to widespread shifts in political allegiance and sentiment, examining how these forces may have contributed to a political phenomenon that many found and still find perplexing. Our aim is to foster a deeper understanding, to look beyond the headlines and the heated rhetoric. By exploring concepts like in-group bias, cognitive dissonance, and the erosion of trust, we hope to illuminate the often unseen factors that play a critical role in our political lives. Because only by understanding these underlying psychological drivers can we begin to navigate the complexities of our current moment and perhaps find a more constructive path forward together. Subscribe to ioMatterz for more insights into the psychology behind politics, power and leadership. Now let's delve into Chapter 1, Us versus Them, the Power of In-Group-Out-Group Bias. One of the most fundamental aspects of human psychology is our tendency to categorize ourselves and others into groups. It's called in-group-out-group bias. At its core, it's about us versus them. We naturally favor our in-group, those we perceive as similar to us, sharing our values, our background or our beliefs, and we can, sometimes unconsciously, view out-groups with suspicion or even hostility. This isn't inherently malicious. It's a cognitive shortcut that has, throughout human history, helped foster cooperation and cohesion within tribes and communities. But in the complex arena of modern politics, this ancient mechanism can be a powerful and at times divisive tool. When we look at the political landscape leading up to and during Donald Trump's rise, it's hard to ignore how effectively this in-group-out-group dynamic was mobilized. A narrative was carefully constructed, often implicitly and sometimes very explicitly, that pitted real Americans, often defined as a specific demographic feeling left behind or culturally besieged, against a host of others. Understanding this powerful psychological pull is the first step in comprehending the deep emotional investments that can drive political affiliation, often transcending purely rational or policy-based considerations. Moving on to Chapter 2, The Mind's Balancing Act, Cognitive Dissonance in the Trump Era. Another powerful psychological force at play is cognitive dissonance. This is the mental discomfort we experience when we hold two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas or values, or when our beliefs clash with our actions. Our minds don't like this state of imbalance. We're inherently motivated to reduce this dissonance. Think of it as an internal pressure to make sense of our world and our choices, to maintain a consistent self-image. In the political realm, especially during times of intense polarization and controversial leadership, cognitive dissonance can become a significant factor in how individuals process information and maintain their allegiances. Understanding this mental balancing act is crucial to grasping why staunch support can persist even when faced with what others might see as overwhelming, contradictory evidence or problematic behavior. Finally, let's explore Chapter 3. The Pendulum Swings, Understanding Political Backlash. Political change rarely moves in a straight line. Often, significant shifts in one direction can provoke a counter-movement, a phenomenon political scientists and sociologists sometimes refer to as backlash theory. This isn't just about policy disagreements. It's a deeper societal reaction against perceived, rapid social, cultural, or economic transformations that leave certain groups feeling disoriented, threatened, or that their values are being eroded. The rise of a figure like Donald Trump can, in many ways, be interpreted through this lens as a powerful backlash against trends that had been gaining momentum in previous years. Think about the 8 years of the Obama presidency, which represented for many significant progressive strides: the Affordable Care Act, advancements in LGBTQ+ rights, a focus on diversity and multiculturalism, and the very presence of the first African-American president. Understanding this backlash dynamic is essential to understanding the emotional energy that propelled his movement. Chapter 4. When Foundations Crumble. The Erosion of Trust. For any society to function effectively, a certain level of trust is essential. Trust in institutions, trust in leaders, trust in the information we receive, and even trust in each other. Over recent decades, however, we've witnessed a significant decline in public trust across many Western democracies, particularly in institutions like the government, the media, and even scientific bodies. This erosion of trust creates a volatile and uncertain environment, one in which established norms can be easily challenged and unconventional political movements can gain traction. The rise of Donald Trump didn't occur in a vacuum. It unfolded against this backdrop of widespread, pre-existing cynicism. This decline in trust has many roots: economic crises that seem to benefit the few, prolonged wars with questionable justifications, political scandals that exposed hypocrisy, and a media landscape that itself became more fragmented and partisan. Rebuilding this trust is one of the most significant challenges facing democracies today, because without it, the very foundations of governance and civil society are weakened, leaving the door open for further instability. Chapter 5. A Cry from the Psyche, the Nature of Political Revolt. Beyond specific biases or cognitive mechanisms, the support for a figure like Donald Trump can also be understood as a form of psychological revolt. This isn't just about policy preferences, it's a deeper, more visceral reaction against a perceived status quo that many felt had become unresponsive, dismissive, or even hostile to their concerns and their very identity. It's a cry from a segment of the population that felt unheard, unseen, and disrespected by the political and cultural establishment, a sentiment that had been simmering for years, if not decades, before finding its explosive outlet. Donald Trump's rhetoric, often described as anti-establishment, populist, and disruptive, resonated powerfully with these feelings. He spoke a language that for many cut through what they saw as the polished, insincere jargon of traditional politicians. This psychological revolt often prioritizes strength and disruption over conventional qualifications or temperament. Chapter 6. Beyond the caricature nuance in a polarized landscape. It's tempting, especially in a deeply polarized political climate, to paint supporters of any political figure, particularly a controversial one like Donald Trump, with a single broad brush. However, to truly understand the complex dynamics at play, we must resist this urge and acknowledge the diversity of motivations and perspectives within any large group of people. The millions who voted for Trump were not a monolith. They were individuals with a wide array of reasons, concerns, and backgrounds. Reducing them to a single caricature prevents any meaningful understanding and further entrenches division. Understanding these varied motivations requires a degree of empathy and a willingness to listen beyond the loudest voices or the most extreme examples. Without this nuanced understanding, we risk talking past each other, entrenching stereotypes and missing opportunities for connection or common ground, however narrow it may seem. Outro charting a course through understanding. We've journeyed through some complex psychological terrain tonight, exploring the in-group biases that can divide us, the cognitive dissonance that shapes our beliefs, the power of political backlash, the corrosive effects of eroding trust, the raw emotion of psychological revolt, and the necessity of seeing nuance even in a polarized world. These forces are not unique to one political movement or one moment in time. They are part of the human condition, influencing how we perceive our leaders, our fellow citizens, and the path our society takes. The rise of Donald Trump provides a stark case study, but the lessons extend far beyond any single election. Understanding these psychological forces is not merely an academic exercise. It is, I believe, essential for anyone committed to fostering a healthier, more inclusive, and more resilient democratic society. Creating effective and inclusive political strategies for the future requires us to look beneath the surface, to acknowledge the genuine anxieties and aspirations that drive voters, even those with whom we profoundly disagree. By acknowledging voter anxieties with sincerity, by fostering genuine dialogue, and by striving for a politics that seeks to unite rather than divide, we may yet prevent deeper polarization and help ensure a more stable and ultimately more hopeful political landscape for generations to come. Subscribe to ioMatterz for more insights into the psychology behind politics, power and leadership.